Good evening to everyone present here tonight in Malaysia. My name is Siu Yu, and I will be your host for tonight. On behalf of the JPO family, we'd like to extend a warm welcome to everyone tuning in for tonight's broadcast. We hope that everyone is doing well and staying safe indoors. A friendly reminder to maintain good hygiene at all times and maintain social distancing when heading out. To anyone who is interested in sharing tonight's broadcast, a live feed is being shared on the JPO YouTube channel. Do like and subscribe the channel so you can receive live notifications. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, please feel free to type that out in the Q&A section down below in Zoom and the chat box in YouTube. A recording of the webinar will also be uploaded onto the channel later on. Jeremy Wong is an accomplished Singaporean concert pianist, chamber musician, music educator, music theorist, and composer. He is also the founder of Nordic Piano Studio, the teaching faculty with Nanyang Academy of Fine Arts, School of Music, and Euro Arts Academy. He currently serves as the president of World Piano Teachers Association, Finland. Tonight's interview features Jeremy with his topic about a Nordic musical experience. As our JPO family attendees are mostly students ranging from primary school to college, their parents and their teachers, the sharing of knowledge and advice you have for all of us is invaluable and greatly appreciated. The JPO is very honored to have Jeremy joining in as our guest for tonight. I hope that you will all join me in giving him a warm welcome. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hello, everybody. Hello, thank you. Siu Yi, thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me to speak about my experience. This Nordic musical experience is what I'll be talking today. I'm greeting everyone, first of all, from Finland. This is Helsinki. The time here is 4 o'clock. So I'm actually 5 hours behind this Pacific Asia time. Very nice to be here, and basically, I will be sharing mostly about my teaching methods, goals, some competitions, and my ideas about what a music experience is about when I've stayed in Finland for the past 7 years. So I'm a Singaporean classical pianist, music theorist by training. I was born in Hong Kong, but I received my training as a musician in Singapore in the Nanyang Academy of Fine Arts. And I also continued my studies in the Royal College of Music, London, before I came to Finland to pursue the master's degree in music. Yeah, so I'm ready now to listen.
No problem. Yeah. Thank you very much for the introduction. And without further ado, can you tell us what the video that we have just watched? Can you tell us about the video? What was it about?
Yes, thank you. So the video that you have just watched is actually recorded 1 year ago. It's before this COVID period. It was in this beautiful hall in the Helsinki Music Center. In Finnish, it's called Musiikkitalo. Okay? Finnish is a very interesting language. It adds lots of meaning to the word by increasing the length of the word, conjugating the word and not adding. So Helsinki Music Center becomes one word, Musiikkitalo. Okay, and it was a very part of a concert that I had over there. And in the same concert, I actually also performed the chamber music and as well as premiered my own composition on the piano. So that was the summary of what you have seen there.
Okay, thank you very much. So can you tell us about what brought you to Finland?
Yeah, so in short, I came here to pursue my master's. That was in 2014. And actually, maybe it's a better question, why Finland then? Firstly, I was introduced, and I was speaking to my supervisors when I finished my bachelor studies, and I have received some interesting feedback and concept that what Finland could provide in terms of education, and also because of their strong pedagogical perspectives and methods, especially also in music theory. So I was actually doing a lot more work in analyzing music when I was in my bachelor's, although I was majoring in piano performance, but I did also equally amount of research work in music analysis, in particular Schenkerian analysis. That was my main topic. And so I wanted to continue to realize this aspect of what I couldn't actually get enough in my bachelor studies. So musical analysis and trying to understand how this analysis could actually be used in performance. So I decided to pursue music theory, musical analysis kind of a major. And I actually found that Sibelius Academy, which I studied in, provides an excellent course that covers very, very much aspect of what I was interested to learn. So then I came to Finland for the audition. It was a couple of rounds, it was a couple of weeks, and then in a couple of months I got the results that I was admitted. And it was surprisingly, it was actually I was the only master student that was admitted for that particular year. So actually the benchmark is actually pretty high, and I, in a way, it was good I didn't check before I go, because it would have given me much stress and pressure. So, but in a nutshell, bringing me to Finland was the beginning of the whole journey, because there was what I'm about to share later on in this interview would be also about the different phases that I went through as a musician, as an Asian musician living in Finland, as well as a growing musician, from education, from being a student towards being an artist, being someone who actually practitioner in music and teaching music. So perhaps I'll leave that a little bit for later.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. So, can you describe your musical experience living in Finland?
Yes, I would gladly to, love to. And my musical experiences can be associated roughly with 5 different areas. So I would like to just summarize in 5 areas. They are all tightly knitted in terms of how closely it's related to the lifestyle in Finland. So music is really close to the hearts of the people here in Finland. And then, of course, it's almost something you can encounter daily, whether you are in school or whether you are in just in the society. Almost every aspect that some music is part of it. So firstly, perhaps I would now share with you a little bit of some pictures that I have taken, which actually kind of describes really appropriately about what I would like to share. So now it is going to come out. Yes, it's apparently not showing for some reason. Aha, okay. So here are my slides, but they are not boring because there are only little words on it. A little bit about these are some of the concert halls that I've played in Finland. This is one of the old halls, which very old one. It's also Sibelius Academy. This is one of their this picture was recorded in the studio, one of the practice studio. They have a Steinway D there. This was in the concert hall, and this was a masterclass picture that I've taken in one of the recital halls. This picture, in the sense, in the bottom here, it's taken in one of the very most famous church in Helsinki Cathedral, and this picture was during the Independence Day. There was a celebration, so I was doing some performance there. And then the last picture on the bottom right is the same angle you have seen in the Camerata Hall, chamber hall in the Musiikkitalo. All right, so now, first thing, you see these couple of pictures, beautiful scenery. They are not, they look similar in terms of their color, but actually each one of them is very different. First, I want to talk about music as being part of nature here in Finland. So, of course, I'm in Helsinki, and there's surprisingly a lot of snow. So the first thing I think, one of the most significant changes that I experience from Singapore to Finland is that the climate, the weather, the drastic change in the landscape is something that I have never expected it to be so impactful to me as a musician. So nature is one thing that really inspired the arts in Finland. How the artists and how musicians here actually get inspired, get influenced, especially composers who composed, the music, and it's really reflecting a lot on the landscape that I'm seeing. So on the top line, you have a very very iconic winter in Finland. Snow, it is not the rare sight in Finland. We are experiencing here 6 months of winter because we are so up north. So the amount of sunlight in winter could be as low as 2 hours or 3, and they are not really sunlight but really just light. So we're experiencing really long and pretty harsh winter, even in the southern part of Finland. So these pictures were taken by my phone. It's not like from any professional photographer. It's really beautiful that you actually experience every moment, every snowflake during those months. And then in the very big contrast, when it turns a little warmer, we have something you can see at the bottom, 2 pictures. And Finland is made up of 1,000 lakes or more. So lakes are everywhere, and they are really such a tranquility in them that we see the life of creatures, of organisms coming up during springtime. So that the transition between winter and spring is really a big change, and it gives a lot of energy. So I was told that when I was studying, the teachers or Finnish people in general, they are more happy when there's sunlight coming in the winter, or when suddenly the temperature goes up. You might have seen some very famous memes about Finnish culture, the personal space, for example, or the kind of they love the summer so much that even if it's 10 degrees, they'll be wearing sleeveless and shorts and running around. So this is kind of actually quite true, because they are people that really embrace this changing in the season. And light is something that is so important and it's part of the world. And I would like to raise an example. For example, Sibelius symphonies pictures beautifully his Symphony Number 5 about this magnificent animal on the bottom right with the swan. So this is something that is so closely, and it's also something very proud that Finnish people hold in their conversations, the nature and all this natural value that they have in this land. So
Yes,
music, first thing, it's reflected in the nature. That's my first experience. So you have any questions? Sue, you have something to ask?
yes, yes. I have something to ask. Can I ask?
Yeah.
So what is the season now in
Right.
Finland?
Very good question. I'm equally confused because it was supposed to be spring. I'm now experiencing about 7 degrees Celsius, and it was snowing a couple of days ago. And so last week it was about 15 degrees average, but then it dipped a little bit a few days ago, and this current week will be a little rainy and sometimes snowing a little bit. So we have one word for it. It's called slushing. So when snow is melting and then it's mixed with water, it's called slush.
Yeah.
So that's a common word we use here. So I guess it's spring now, and we are famous for really short spring because the winter is long, and then before you know it, the spring is gone, and then summer is here. So now it's the very precious springtime, perhaps until the end of May, and then it will be a summer, hopefully a good one. Yeah.
So if it's summer, how hot will it get? Like,
Well, summertime in Finland, the daytime will be around 15 to 20 degrees, and in the nighttime it could be as cold as 10. Yeah, throughout summer until around August. Then we are again into autumn.
um,
Yeah.
yes, yes. it's the same. I think the climate now is it's changing very fast because I'm based in UK now. I'm studying in UK, so it's like it's also spring, and
Mm,
we had snows like last a few weeks ago. So it's like
mm,
20. It was like Monday. It was like 20 degrees, and the next day, Tuesday, it was like snowing in the morning. So
mm.
it's a bit tricky now. And how is it like? Like, how is it like in Singapore about
Well,
seasons or like the climate?
mm, in Singapore.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is
I'm sure our those friends who are listening to us in Southeast Asia would have a perfect answer. I mean, I guess in Singapore and as it is in Malaysia and Indonesia as well, when we are near the equator, it's very difficult to differentiate seasons, and in a way, it's kind of very equal, predictable weather. You know,
yes.
perhaps more rainy but more dry. That's the best dry season and or wet season. But really, in terms of the temperature, it's not much different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Please continue what you're gonna
yeah.
share.
Okay, sure. So then, my second experience that music is an expression and idea here in Finland. Why do I say that? Because in Finland they value very much the freedom of expression. So one of my main something I really got very much from this culture is that I'm so free to express myself in my art, and there is this very much room for expressing what we want to show, what we want to say, and there's also a huge room to actually to accept, appreciate different art forms, and that allows me to do different multidisciplinary collaborations between different artists, and that gives me very much freedom and also creativity in my own practice. I think also in the academy where I learned, I experienced that the teaching is very much teaching us how to express our ideas and in through different medium. So as you might have heard that I'm also doing composition, I'm also doing this and that. Actually, all these things are not something that for me it used to be like, okay, I have to get a degree or some 10 years before I am doing certain role. But in Finland, it's very good that there is a merging of all these different disciplines. So basically, I begin to compose when I was in my final year because I was interested to express my ideas, and I've gone through a couple of terms of composition lessons, and then basically they developed my ideas, and I was confident to express my ideas through a composition. So that's something that is really like a lifelong learning, lifelong skill that is not really just exclusively for a certain group of people. So I think that's something that I really value very much here. Um, so the third thing is music as a silent experience. So one very important aspect as musician is that we should always find opportunities um, to get ourselves in a very quiet environment, because it's really healing for our entire system as musicians. Actually, even for artists, for anyone who really practices art. And in Finland, that's one of the things that I'm really spoiled. Now that I'm here, I realize that you could easily get silence almost anywhere. They are very quiet. I remember one of the most cultural shock that I had was that when I went on the bus, um, it was so quiet that I felt that if I closed my eyes, I wouldn't suspect that I was in a library. And people were reading. They were just keeping to themselves, and you almost feel like you are not at all under any stress, or have to be participating in someone else's conversation. You can just take the time to just either rest or you can reflect. That's one thing that is really valuable I experience as a musician, that we need to really appreciate silence. And music is a silent experience as well. So in silence, ideas come, creativity can evolve, creativity can become materialized into something. The fourth thing, I think music as a lifelong experience, is very important. That's why I've been taught here. I taught in the adult university for a few years, and I was very, very humbled by their willingness to learn. Um, and then it's important that to know what music means to people who are not in the profession. It's like music to pianists. It's really like performing and trying to affect people. But people who are not music professions, what do music mean to them? And that's something that I'm greatly humbled when I taught these adults in these universities, that they come from all walks of life. There are people who are not musicians, but they have been doing music all their lives, and they still want to improve on something. Although they are really skillful, for example, in singing, and then okay, I want to come and learn some improvisation to actually learn how to accompany myself, and go on gigs on the weekends. But they are not professional musicians, but they sound so confident and so professional. So I think it's a lesson, because being professional does not really mean it's how many years of training you've had in the university. It also means how confident you are with yourself, how you actually use music to communicate. So I think that's also a very valuable aspect that I would like to share. So final thing I share about this musical experience, at least at this point, is about improvisation. And here you can actually see that this is one of the very closed private setting. It's not a concert, and it's also not a formal event. It's an informal event. It's private. It's at a flautist house, and the owner is the flautist who's actually performing with me, and so he's a very famous veteran jazz flautist, Juhani Aaltonen. And so this is his house. These evenings where we make music, it's almost like bringing me back into the history books where Schubert has his, music salons. We has his the kind of music gatherings. It's informal, but it's something that the Finns like to experience. They want to have it as part of their lifestyle. So we are not, what we do here, we are improvising. I will actually play a video clip of it very shortly. We do not prepare what we want to do. So he has a couple of lead sheets, or he has a couple of tunes that he knows, and he will just tell me, and we will just get along and go on with it. There are of course, some light snacks, and yeah, so it's very evening, very light, and I think to me, it's a spiritual music. It's healing for the soul. So I'll play it now a little bit for you, and I will just change the screen share into the YouTube. So this is. Can you hear the music, or do I have to?
Yes, I can hear.
You can hear it. Okay, right. Oopsie, I was loading it, but. right. So all good moments have to come to an end somehow. But it's really something music that's flowing. I think flowing it's a good word to describe all this. I call it prayer music. So anyway, this was an example of some kind of improvisation, how much they value. That people there, they are not professional musicians, besides the flautist myself, but they equally appreciate and also involve as well. There are sometimes people bring instruments and we just make music together.
Yes. Can I ask something? So because it's improvisation on the spot. So
Mm,
it's maybe for people they'll be like it's very amazing that from the video that we just watched just now, like how you both of you can like work together and bring this improvisation, this music out like
mm,
so smoothly.
mm.
And it's very interesting. So is it more like you like is it more like him um accompanying you or you accompanying him? Like how did you guys do it?
Well, actually, a very good question. And I like to answer that by first taking an example. If you are talking to a friend, or like right now we are talking, so it's a conversation. And first thing that if I talk technically is that we need to know our roles. You know that we have decision. Are we role? Is my role? Is it going to be a leading one or am I a following one? And it need not have to be always leading or following. That's the beauty about conversation, because if we agree in a way that I we are taking it very equally. For example, depends on temperament. So some musicians that I work with, they are more like eager to play solo. Then of course I could also go in and I want to do it as well without saying it out. Then you will experience in a conversation that I'm always trying to cut you. It's like you're saying something and say, actually, I know, oh, you are basically reacting the same way as talking to someone who is very strong and very wants to take charge. The same thing in music. But if you meet someone, a musician or someone, a friend who actually listens to you and who actually imitates your conversation in a good way, then it becomes an interactive and it becomes really comfortable. So with Yono, for example, Johanni, I didn't know him until a couple of years after being in Finland, and that was like something we don't have to discuss because it's almost like talking to a friend. And but when I teach improvisation myself, I would focus on one thing: you need to know the role that you are in. No, because you need to be comfortable with the instrument that you're playing, okay? And then you just listen, do something, listen, do something. It's an in and out process. It's never a one rule. It's a couple of. Then you begin to flow within the different texture in the music because every instrument has its own, in a way, special sound. A piano has the ability to make bass notes, higher notes, middle notes, melody, everything. So of course our responsibility is kind of big, but we can also choose to do only very the minimal so that other things comes out, and then you can actually continue with what you have. So a lot of listening, a lot of giving way. So it's a very good, in a way, healing process for pianists, for musicians to have when they improvise.
Yes, thank you
Yeah,
very much. So due to the time, so can we continue
yeah, yeah, of
the
course.
discussion?
Please, yes, yeah.
Okay, so can you tell us more about for the past few years because you have promoted like Asian Chinese music in the Finnish
Yeah.
music scene? Like can you tell us, share with us?
Yes, sure, I will do that. And I'll go back to my slides. So here you see some of the materials that I have, some of the concert posters, the reviews, newspaper reviews, some of the program that I have organized. So basically, what I'm doing here is that I'm also trying to promote Chinese culture to the Finnish people. their acceptance of different cultures. It's one of their unique value that they actually they possess, and they're really interested and curious, also wanting to learn more about different cultures. And the Chinese community is quite big here. It's quite a major number of to make up the amount of immigrants. So I felt that when I started this, the whole point is that I was performing in student festivals when I was studying, and then during those festivals, I felt that the standard wasn't very, to me, not very acceptable. That they are lacking in like really the core or the true representation of Chinese music, Chinese art music. So after I graduated, I actually I got along a couple of musicians. One or two of them are Chinese, and then I said, all right, let's try to start off with what I call the East meets West music gala. So it's a common name, but the intention here is that there are two. First, so for people who are in the audience to understand, and experience Chinese music. Secondly, is for the performers themselves. Our performers are at least half of them are Finnish people, or Western, who have never played Chinese music probably, and they actually experience this playing with us Chinese repertoire, and then working with Chinese instruments. So that is for them a very different experience on a professional level, as well as to the audience on the social level. So we actually do both. We do the Finnish music on Chinese instruments, and then Chinese instruments on Western, Chinese music on Western instruments. So it's kind of like a taking turns. So we have these are some pictures from some of the concerts that we have done. So we have, like, for example, duets, and they learning Chinese language, and then this was Yunu playing one of a Chinese folk song that I would perhaps now just share a short snippet of it. I won't listen to the whole thing, but just a little bit. I have already loaded this, so let's hope this works. Okay, so I will share this now here. Sorry. All right, so just to, because I know there's a time limit, so a little bit idea. For example, I did with Yunu will be like Jasmine Flower. We did some very popular Chinese tunes, and it's improvised again in that sense. So we didn't plan every note out. And then also, like, we had another arrangement on the very famous Chinese piece called Horse Race, Saima. I'm not sure if you have heard it before. So let me just screen share that one. That was also a very, very interesting experience. So we have like four of us. We have a conga, we have an accordion, and then we have the erhu. Okay, yeah, but anyway, this was the some idea of what I was planning in the concert. It was very, very well received, I have to say, that because in the audience there were different family groups that are like Finnish mixed with Chinese, or they are pure Finnish families, and I think that was really effective in bringing people understand, accept, almost some sort of new understanding of what they previously know. Yeah, so then after that, it became quite successful that I think I caught the attention of the chief editor from the Rondo Classic, one of the biggest classical magazine in Finland, and they have interviewed me about cultural and how culture it's like being questioned in education, in the performance, in the classical performance scene. So they did a short interview, and here I'm featured in the magazine in February. And so there I shared also my ideas of what it means, what culture means as a classical musician. Yeah, I think I believe the cultural exchange and interactions could revive the classical scene itself, even in Singapore actually, because being a multiracial, really metropolitan city, I think that's something will also benefit Singapore art scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So, how about your experience with identities as a classical musician and a cultural music ambassador? Like, is it can you elaborate more into this one?
Yeah, I think basically now I'm beginning as a journey to experience more. I wouldn't say I know everything already because it's just a couple of years since this has started. The COVID has affected a lot on the progress of these projects because there's no live concerts possible. Perhaps later this year, maybe we can start. But I think perhaps I'll summarize it quickly with a couple of sentences. First thing is that as musicians, as someone who is studying in the conservatory or even taking it as a hobby, I think we need to first of all look at things from multi perspectives. That music has its own individual special value when you actually put it in terms of culture, when you actually like share music in terms of different cultures. So I think there's the value there is much higher than just focusing on, for example, certain repertoire. Some because I'm classical trained very much, and I support so much the development of classical music. Of course, I think also that we need to be mindful that sometimes music have much more function as well, and it has much more power in also different areas, and culture is one of them. You can really can bring people together in that improvisation video that I showed in Johanni's place. So I was often the cultural object there. I'm the only Asian, Chinese, Singaporean, whatever. To them, it's Asian. And they all speak Finnish. I get a translator always when I'm there. And so it's really like stepping into culture. Do you allow yourself to expose yourself? Do you consider your culture as a weakness? All these things. Don't be shy and afraid that people actually feels that you don't belong there because you are not part of them. So all these things, I think, as musicians, we need to be aware. We need to know that we are much more powerful when we use music, as people actually know us as musicians. So we are already powerful. We have something to share. So don't be afraid to share in a culture. That's a cultural identity that they establish yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So before we move into the Q&A section, I have one last question here.
Mm.
Can you, so as you may have heard, the Jesselton Philharmonic Orchestra has involved itself in a variety of activities. So on behalf of the JPO, we would like to ask your views on the activities that we've done. So additionally, how would you suggest the JPO and its members to further improve itself?
Yes, I think that first of all, what the JPO is doing, it's really very, very, very respectable, and it's very encouraging, and also perhaps effective in really helping the situation now, as well as bringing people together. My suggestion is that there could be even more extension towards working, for example, with exchanging different ideas with different organizations that is in the Europe or in the States. Yeah, I mean, I lead the World Piano Teachers Association Finland, and I think that could be one avenue that we can um, have some collaborations so that we can bring the arts from different parts of the world to different platforms. I think that is something that it's much easier now with Zoom, with internet, with synchronized meetings. That's really, really so much easier than a decade ago, for example.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
Thank you. So, the now we are moving into the Q&A sections. There's someone, so they don't have the name, so it's anonymous. So they ask, "Hi Jeremy, would you say your training in piano performance helps in what you are specializing now?"
Okay, so shall I answer that question first? Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm so curious. I'm looking so many questions. Okay, I'll try to just think of the first one. Yeah. So
Yeah.
would my training in piano performance help me what I'm specializing now? Yes, I would say yes, a big yes. Parts of it could be a small no, but I want to elaborate a little on that. So a big yes is because when I'm training as a classical pianist, I think it's more about the knowledge. It's more about appreciation um, of the arts in general, and also the discipline. That when you are trained as a classical pianist, the hours that you put in, the kind of professional etiquette, the attitude when you put into rehearsals, the experience that you gather when you play with other musicians in the classical scene, the experience that you have when you actually practice a piece for hundreds of hours, that kind of thing, it's irreplaceable, really. You need to actually go through it before you know it. But why I say a little no is that many people stop at that point when they gather all these skills that they have as for example, pianists. It's a small no because if you can't transfer these skills to a very practical level, sometimes then you find yourself limited to a very specific audience and also a very specific place. So I think the no, it's very easily changed to a yes. It all depends on what you use it for, and of course it's helpful. I mean, now that I say it short.
Okay, thank you. So another question. So they are asking, what would you say is the biggest difference in terms of music education in between the Asian countries and Western countries and that like of Finland?
Yeah, I have to answer the question based on this because I have to say that I have a couple more things to share, but I didn't have time. But one of it is about education. So I would say try to create as quickly as I can. So basically, one of the main thing is that over here, teaching is really about starting from the inside. So discovering what the person really has instead of what is supposed to be taught. Pedagogy is not about what you really know what you want to teach, but there's more than that. It's about really teaching the person that you're teaching, you know, in a more holistic manner. So every child is different, every musician is different. The approach must be different as well for everyone. Developing the skills from inside out, from a student's perspective. Okay, my strategy is that I always believe always the same, but not always in the same way. That is actually from Heinrich Schenker, theorist. His very famous quote from him. So the same result you want a student to learn a piece, same piece you are giving to student A, B, and C, but not always in the same way. They will not react the same way, and you are not supposed to teach it in the same way. I think that's a very important thing to take back for teachers. And so I've often been invited to talk about seminars back in NAFA, back in my other schools, is that different way of teaching music theory. They have a very interesting way of applying different practical methods of teaching music theory, as well as different ideas of informal learning in Finland. So the idea of assessment is very different compared to Asia and Finland. Assessment is not something that is only used for getting the grades and getting students to be motivated for studying the course. But assessment is something that is formative in the sense that it's a continuous process. And I know that in Singapore, in other Asian countries, they're getting into it. Of course, it's a very, very big overhaul process. I mean, it's not good without these summative assessments. But without this formative, this continuous assessment, it loses somewhere along the line. It loses the point of studying, a point of education, even. Yeah. So I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Yes.
And
Okay.
we have here, hello, is the freedom of expression in Finland confined to the arts, or is it also applied to the writing?
Well, I'm not that familiar with the literature scene, but I have definitely seen, very interesting, very eye-catching, very, nerve-wracking topics that they have written about, and I definitely believe it's close to the expression they have in the arts, in the writing as well.
Thank you. Can you can you share with us like what is your like, because you said that you've shared with us about the education system between Asian um and Western. So can you tell us more a little in your teaching philosophy, about your teaching philosophy?
Yeah, so I was briefly talking about it when I was answering the question.
Yeah.
My teaching, yeah, so I will share the other part of it. Basically, I believe in also, in a way, controlling the learning situation, the learning expectation. Um, when I actually control the learning expectation, I believe that it would create a different learning outcome for the student. So whether it's a group class, or whether it's an adult, or whether it's a child, as a teacher, we can inject certain activity or a certain words that we use, or even certain gestures that would actually break their expectation, thinking that, oh, I thought it's going to be like this, but actually you take them somewhere else, just for the sake of getting them really involved. And also it will make them feel like they are it is a response to their performance during the lesson, and then to them they feel that it will give them the sense of control as well, that they are actually directing the lesson as well. It's not just about listening to teacher all the time and not being involved. So it's more like a shared participation, a self-directed kind of approach in my lessons. Yeah, but my main teaching philosophy always the same, but not always in the same way.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. It's, I think, will it be hard, like, because different children or different people or students, you need to use different ways to teach them. Will it be like, will it sometimes be like stressful to like do your teaching plan or anything?
Yeah, it was extremely stressful when I first started. Okay, I was already teaching very much in Singapore before I came to Finland, but in Finland, it's you have to in a way at first to remove everything because if you try to put on too much what you have experienced before, you're facing a different audience, you're facing a different group of students, and you won't expect that kind of from them. The freedom of speech also allows a little bit of so-called rebellious situations, that you have to really respect also, whether they want to learn something. So this is also a so-called two double-edged sword. Some would say that you give them some choices, and then it's like going to get back on you later on. But in a way, I experienced both sides of the coin. So good and bad things about that, but more good things so far, I would say. You give them the freedom, you will be very surprised that they actually do it much better than you expect them to. So it's also giving you new encouragement as a teacher, because they really enjoy what they're doing. Yeah. So I would say that it's challenging, but it's really a rewarding challenge, because at the end of the day, you'll get to measure how much you want to give the freedom. You get the best of both sides, and then you just do a balance yourself. You cannot go all the way on one side. Whether in Singapore or in Finland, there must be a balance of both.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else you would like to add or share before we finish the interview today?
Yeah, I will guess I can share one last thing about what I'm also very much doing as an educator now. So that's from NAFA. Yeah. So as I said, I'm also the um, World Piano Teachers Association Finland president. So I have been organizing important opportunities for uh, pianists around the world to participate in competitions, in master classes, and in different music festivals. So basically, we are um, offering scholarships for them to take part in these festivals, master classes, and concerts. And it's inspired by the importance of giving feedback. Feedback is the last thing that I want to share today. That in the Finnish education system, they value it so much. Feedback verbally, feedback written, feedback on every possible occasion. So I think that's something that inspired me to do so, because I would require all my jury members, for example, to give very, very detailed pedagogic feedback to competitors, for people who have, whether they have prizes or not. I think it's a whole learning journey for them. And for that, I think it's important that what I'm trying to advocate here is to promote and showcase these pianists who might not have any experience in taking part in competition, but they should not feel too pressured, and they should not feel that it's only for people who are really skilled and like who have done big competitions. So like a stepping stone for them to have the confidence to do bigger ones ahead. So I perhaps would like to also, oopsie, like to share that there's one coming up at the end of near the end of May 20th, so there's still time to take part. And if you're interested, then please feel free to visit the website, and I think you can actually find the information later on. I will try to find a way to share it. It's on Facebook as well. So yeah. And finally, perhaps to just share that I'm always welcoming students around the world for master classes, and also to share about certain topics, musical topics or seminars. So this is my contact information, but nothing else. I think that's what I would like to say has said it out as
Oh,
well.
okay. Thank you very much for sharing and for all the responses. So, but I'm sorry, everyone. We are coming to the end of tonight's broadcast. We would like to remind everyone that our JPO Family program will be broadcasted twice a week until further notice. Join us next time in our next with our next guest, and will be posted near the time. More details can be found in our Facebook page. A video recording of tonight's broadcast will also be available soon on YouTube on the YouTube channel, along with the past webinars and the YouTube and the soon to be broadcasted interviews. So feel free to share the Zoom webinar registration link, JPO YouTube channel, and the JPO Facebook page with friends and family. For our YouTube audience, if you are enjoying our program, please show your support by pressing the like and subscribe button down below. You guys have been an amazing audience. We from the JPO family wishes that everyone stays safe and healthy as facing this crisis together. Jeremy will lead the prayer to end tonight's program. Please pray in whatever faith you believe in regarding the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah. So can I start now?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So, dear Lord, thank you for such an opportunity. It's such an experience of connecting with people who are physically far away, but who are close to us in the hearts. And I'm really thankful, and we are thankful that we're able to share our thoughts, our questions, our experiences with this technology, with this situation. We are still able to do something to encourage each other. And I would like to really lift up everyone who is facing struggle, who the countries and also the societies who are facing the challenges because of the COVID-19. We want to lift these people in prayer. We want to lift them up to you, that you would give them comfort, that you would help them, and you would also give them the relief, and to also provide your healing, your strength and protection, most importantly, to everyone, those who are hearing and also those people who are not. And we want to give you also the concern that we have, especially with this situation. We pray that there will be a better and more hopeful rest of the year, because we know that in you there's hope, and we want to do our best even in these times. We give you thanks for this meeting in your mighty name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Jeremy, for sharing such a wonderful topic with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
My
no
pleasure.
problem. And thank you everyone, for all the audience for joining us tonight. So we'll see everyone next time. Good night.